Summary of the poem Money Madness by D. H. Lawrence. D. H. Lawrence's poem Money Madness explores the profound impact of money on human behavior and society. The poet argues that money has become a source of widespread madness, influencing both individuals and the collective consciousness of society. Lawrence suggests that money is not just a mere tool for transactions, but a powerful force that induces fear and irrationality. The poem begins by depicting money as a symbol of madness, both on a personal level and a societal level. Lawrence reflects on how people feel uneasy when spending money, particularly larger amounts, and how this fear is pervasive. He describes a deep-seated anxiety that comes with the handling of money, suggesting that this fear is not just about the physical act of giving away money, but about the societal judgment that accompanies it. Lawrence emphasizes that the true source of fear is not the money itself, but the collective madness that surrounds money. Society places immense value on wealth and uses it to determine a person's worth. If someone lacks money, they are judged harshly and treated poorly, reduced to a status where they are metaphorically forced to eat dirt. This harsh judgment reflects a broader societal issue where money dictates one's social standing and access to basic necessities. The poem criticizes the way money shapes human interactions and values, arguing that it creates an environment where people are driven by fear and desperation. Lawrence calls for a re-evaluation of how society values money, suggesting that basic needs like food, shelter, and warmth should be accessible to everyone regardless of their financial status. He believes that the current system, driven by the madness surrounding money, leads to unnecessary suffering and conflict. Lawrence's message is a call to recognize and confront this collective madness. He argues that true sanity requires a fundamental change in how we view and use money. Only by addressing and overcoming this madness can society hope to prevent further conflict and ensure that basic human needs are met equitably. The poem is a powerful critique of the way money influences human behavior and societal norms, urging readers to reflect on the consequences of valuing money above all else.
Line-by-line explanation of the poem Money Madness by D. H. Lawrence.
Line 1. Money is our madness, our vast collective madness. The poet begins by declaring that money represents a form of collective insanity that affects society at large. This madness refers to the irrational and obsessive behaviors people exhibit due to their fixation on money. The term vast collective madness highlights how this obsession is not limited to individuals, but is a widespread phenomenon impacting the entire society. Line 2. And of course, if the multitude is mad, Lawrence notes that when society as a whole exhibits madness, it inevitably influences individual behavior. The multitude here refers to the broader societal group, and the implication is that the irrationality of the collective environment affects each person within it. If the collective is irrational, it is almost inevitable that individuals will also be affected by this madness. Line 3. The individual carries his own grain of insanity around with him. Each person carries their own personal irrationality or anxiety related to money. This grain of insanity represents the small but significant ways in which money affects individual behavior and thinking. Even though this insanity may be minor compared to the collective madness, it is still present and impactful in the lives of individuals. Line 4. I doubt if any man living hands out a pound note without a pang. Lawrence suggests that even the act of giving away a small amount of money, such as a pound note, causes emotional discomfort. The pang refers to the psychological pain or regret associated with parting with money, indicating that people feel a sense of loss or anxiety when they spend or give away money, no matter the amount. Line 5. And a real tremor if he hands out a 10-pound note. The emotional response intensifies with larger amounts of money. Handing out a 10-pound note causes even greater distress or tremor. This stronger reaction highlights how the significance of the amount influences the level of emotional discomfort experienced when giving away money. Line 6. We quail, money makes us quail. The term quail means to shrink back or recoil in fear. Lawrence uses it to express how money induces fear in people. The pervasive influence of money makes individuals feel apprehensive and anxious, demonstrating the deep-seated impact that money has on their psychological state. Line 7. It has got us down, we grovel before it in strange terror. Money exerts a dominating and oppressive influence over people, reducing them to a state of submission. The imagery of groveling reflects how individuals debase themselves or behave servilely because of their fear and reverence towards money. The strange terror suggests an irrational and profound fear that leads people to act in degrading ways. Line 8. And no wonder, for money has a fearful cruel power among men. The poet acknowledges that it is not surprising that people are so fearful of money, as it wields a fearful cruel power over them. Money's power is described as harsh and destructive, contributing to the widespread anxiety and suffering it causes. Line 9. But it is not money we are so terrified of. Lawrence shifts the focus from the object of fear, money, to the underlying cause of fear. The real issue is not the money itself, but the broader implications of its influence. This suggests that the anxiety people feel is rooted in the consequences and social dynamics associated with money. Line 10. It is the collective money madness of mankind. The true source of fear is the collective obsession with money that permeates human society. The money madness refers to the widespread irrational behaviors and attitudes that society collectively holds about money, which drive individual fears and anxieties. Line 11. For mankind says with one voice, how much is he worth? Society evaluates and judges individuals based on their financial worth. The phrase with one voice signifies a unified societal standard that determines a person's value through their wealth, emphasizing the social pressure to conform to this evaluation criterion. Line 12. Has he no money? Then let him eat dirt and go cold. Lawrence points out the harsh social consequences of lacking money. The phrase eat dirt symbolizes extreme poverty and social degradation, while go cold refers to the lack of basic necessities and comfort. This line illustrates the severe judgment and exclusion faced by those without financial resources. Line 13. And if I have no money, they will give me a little bread. Without money, individuals may receive only minimal assistance, represented by a little bread. Bread symbolizes the most basic form of sustenance, provided reluctantly and insufficiently, highlighting the meager support given to those in need. Line 14. So I do not die. The minimal aid provided is merely enough to prevent starvation. The poet emphasizes the precarious nature of survival when one lacks money, suggesting that without adequate financial resources, even basic survival is threatened. Line 15. But they will make me eat dirt with it. Even the basic help provided comes with a cost, involving degradation and humiliation. The phrase eat dirt implies that receiving minimal aid while being demeaned is a harsh consequence of lacking money, underscoring the social stigma associated with poverty. Line 16. I shall have to eat dirt. I shall have to eat dirt. The repetition of the phrase I shall have to eat dirt emphasizes the intense fear and reality of extreme poverty. This repetition underscores the severity and inevitability of experiencing social shame and humiliation due to financial inadequacy. Line 17. If I have no money. The conditional statement reinforces that the absence of money leads to severe social and personal consequences. It highlights the dependency on financial resources to avoid extreme poverty and the associated degradation. Line 18. It is that I am frightened of. The poet reveals that the real fear is not just about money but about the degradation and social exclusion that come with lacking it. This fear is rooted in the broader implications of being without financial resources. Line 19. And that fear can become a delirium. The intensity of the fear regarding money and its consequences can escalate into an overwhelming and irrational state of anxiety. Delirium suggests a loss of control over one's mental state due to extreme fear and stress. Line 20. It is fear of my money-mad fellow men. The poet identifies the source of fear as the behavior and attitudes of others who are similarly obsessed with money. The fear is not just of money itself but of how others, who are equally money-obsessed, might react or judge. Line 21. We must have some money. There is a perceived necessity to possess money to avoid dire consequences. This line highlights the essential role that money plays in ensuring social acceptance and personal security. Line 22, to save us from eating dirt. Money is seen as a means to prevent extreme poverty and humiliation. The need for money is framed as crucial for protecting oneself from social exclusion and personal degradation. Line 23, and this is all wrong. The poet criticizes the entire system and societal values centered around money. The statement reflects a moral judgment that the obsession with money and the consequences it brings are fundamentally flawed. Line 24, bread should be free. Lawrence advocates for a more just system where basic necessities like bread are accessible to everyone without cost. This line reflects an idealistic vision of equitable resource distribution. Line 25, shelter should be free, extending the idea of free access. The poet argues that shelter should also be provided to everyone without charge. This emphasizes the need for basic human rights and equality in access to essential resources. Line 26, fire should be free. The inclusion of fire as a basic necessity underscores the importance of access to essential resources for warmth and energy. The poet argues that all fundamental aspects of life should be available to everyone. Line 27, to all and anybody, all and anybody, all over the world. Lawrence calls for universal access to basic necessities, repeating all and anybody to stress the importance of global equality in resource distribution. This line advocates for a universal approach to providing essential needs. Line 28, we must regain our sanity about money. The poet urges a shift in societal attitudes towards money, suggesting that current perspectives are irrational and need to be corrected. The call for regaining sanity reflects a desire for more rational and humane values. Line 29, before we start killing one another about it. Lawrence warns that the irrational obsession with money could lead to violence and conflict. The statement underscores the destructive potential of money's influence if left unchecked. Line 30, it's one thing or the other. The final line presents a critical choice between continuing the irrational obsession with money or adopting a more just and equitable approach. It emphasizes the need for a fundamental shift in how society deals with money and its consequences.
About the poet. D.H. Lawrence, born on September 11, 1885, in Eastwood, Nottinghamshire, England, was a prominent English writer, poet, and literary critic. His work is noted for its exploration of human emotions, relationships, and the complex interactions between individuals and society. Lawrence's early life in a working-class family heavily influenced his writing, which often focused on industrialization's impact on human life and nature. He gained recognition with novels such as Sons and Lovers, 1913, The Rainbow, 1915, and Women in Love, 1920, which were controversial for their frank treatment of sexuality and psychology. Besides his novels, Lawrence was a prolific poet, essayist, and short story writer, known for his vibrant language and exploration of primal human instincts. Despite facing censorship and criticism, Lawrence's work has endured, solidifying his place as a significant figure in 20th century literature. He died on March 2, 1930.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.